Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Quantum of Solace from 2008, directed by Marc Forster, and yes, the 22nd Bond film in the franchise. So yes, Bond is back, and so are we. Very, very interesting film here to discuss. But first of all, of course, spoiler warning. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend watching it first, and then then you can kind of come back to this and kind of rest easy. That you won't get any kind of spoilers given to you before you've seen the film, and also spoilers for Casino Royale, because some of the things that happened in that film I will be mentioning here, and because it is a direct kind of sequel to that film, obviously. So yes, just a little warning there. With that said, yes, we are back, and I did say, of course, very recently that I'd be doing at least one Bond video every month or so, and just to kind of space them out, of course, before No Time to Die, and just going forward as well. But yes, it could be a review, it could be a ranking, could be just a general discussion, or maybe an analysis, kind of a particular Bond moment, or Bond film. And yes, with that said, it's great to be back and talking about Bond again. Very interesting film here, and I guess I have some things to say about this one, some unique kind of opinions on this film, and yes, everyone's journey is different with Bond and just with cinema. So yes, I have some things to say, and this is not. I'll say it now. It's not one of my favourite Bond films, and I saw this when it came out, and have some interesting things to say. But yes, we of course have this kind of direct, as we say, follow up to Casino Royale, coming out 2 years after, and this is very, very interesting. It kind of is known to have had a writer's strike during the production, of this film, and Daniel Craig is one such individual who was kind of tasked with kind of co-writing, I guess, this film. And yeah, it's very interesting. Also, just the opinions of how to approach the film. The general thing was, for Marc Forster, for example, like a bullet. That is the kind of the approach to this film, at least the final product and how it was, kind of put together, I guess. But yes, very interesting. It's the shortest Bond film, and it's very short for Bond, of course. But at the same time, it does feel, it feels rushed. I feel personally, but it also feels kind of drawn out. I think that simply comes down to a few things, mainly. Not enough compelling material here to actually, maintain, the kind of, the suspense and the kind of the intrigue actually, for the runtime, and as well the editing, and just some of the way the film is put together, also kind of contributes to the strange kind of flow of the film, and I guess yes, that rushed but kind of drawn out feeling that I'm talking about, at least in my opinion, of course, and it kind of, I guess that contributes to that, those things I've mentioned. But yes, in a general sense, my journey with this film, I've only seen this a few times. This is my third watch all the way through, and I saw this when it came out in 2008, and I remember going to see this, and I was very hyped. I didn't have a computer back then, really, so I didn't see any trailers for this film, really, and so I didn't really read up on it too much. But I'd seen Casino Royale, quite a few times before this was released. Of course, I'd seen that many times. I loved that film instantly, and as I said before, it's grown on me every time since, more and more, to the point where it's just, it really is just one of my absolute favourite films, and but it always has been. But yes, so I had high hopes. I didn't know the consensus about this film, and obviously, the consensus is really that it's not one of the best. In fact, this is usually placed, near the bottom, perhaps at the bottom of a ranking, of the franchise. I can understand the disappointment, personally, with this film, and because I was disappointed. I went in. There was a few things that happened on that day, that were not exactly positive. But then when we got to the cinema, I was with my family. I was in the mindset, positive mindset, and forgot all the kind of things that happened, and then just went into the film really pumped. Of course, loving Casino Royale, and just expecting a really great film once again, and I'd seen many Bond films as a kid, and I knew what to kind of. I thought I knew what to expect, I guess, and I got something very different, and yes, a very disappointing film to me. I left the cinema very disappointed. Just feeling it was underwhelming as an experience, and I was bored. I was kind of, I felt a bit kind of not too great because of the kind of, I guess the editing actually, and seeing it, in the cinema, and back then I was kind of prone to that more. Just feeling a bit kind of disorientated, and just driving back as well home. It wasn't great, but yeah, just got that kind of feeling of. It was a bit too much, the shakiness and the editing, just too many cuts, just as well. Yeah, I kind of forgot the film instantly, and aside from a couple of moments, and they're mainly in the trailer actually. The actual trailer that I see now, just the original trailer. But yes, I saw this. I was disappointed, but as as always, back then at least, once I saw a film, of course a Bond film, I saw, I would get the DVD, and of course it would be a film to watch, and I put it in, and a couple of family members, and I didn't get through it. I never actually finished it again, would you believe? And many other Bond films around that time, I'd be rewatching quite often, and loving, and or just liking, and having a good time with. But this film, we just kind of just left it, kind of halfway through, and never returned to it until 2 years ago, when I'd done this kind of. For YouTube, of course, these reviews of the entire series, kind of watching them in order, and yes, just going through them, discussing them, and that was the second time I saw this film, and now, of course, a few weeks ago, rewatching it, watching it for the third time. So not too many times compared to many of the Bond films, and Casino Royale I've seen so many times, and it's just a film that I absolutely love. But this one. It's a problematic film, I guess for me, and just not a film, that I really have a great experience with. Looking back on my past times, this time around, what do I think of the film? I think it's very interesting. I think I can't say I like the film overall, but I think it's definitely the most. I'll give it that, the most I've liked this film. I guess that's kind of. It's nice because 3 times seeing a film, I guess that's a solid number. For example, if you were unsure of a film at first, I was very disappointed. But the second time actually, maybe just kind of 2 years ago, kind of reminding me of what I kind of thought about the film, and my issues with the film, and that was probably my worst experience, just kind of watching it and really not liking it, really disliking it actually. This time around, it's grown on me. I don't hate this film. I don't think it's a bad film anymore. But it's definitely underwhelming for me. But it's nice to kind of get a few watches in there, and you can come to more of a kind of solid conclusion. But some films, of course, you instantly know what you feel about them. This one is very confusing. Based on my first experience with the film. Just my thoughts on it. I've struggled with it. You could say over the years, and but now I think. It's under par, but I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's this kind of mediocre effort, that's just has some really impressive moments. It's a film of moments. I think Daniel Craig is great, with what he's given, and I think his Bond once again is ruthless. This kind of danger to Bond that's really well captured in this film. For example, a scene, the hotel kind of fight sequence there is really brutal, and just really violent, and it's just I don't want to say cold, but it's a real kind of raw moment there, and I think just the exchange there as well, really brutal stuff, and that kind of side of the character is captured at times really well in the film, but the other kind of side of it is, I think it's a bit too cold, this one, and there is not much. There is, this kind of brutality of Bond, but it's kind of lacking completely the charm of Bond, and that was really present perfectly. The kind of two sides of Bond in Casino Royale, or the many sides of Bond. The charm, the humour, the humanity, the likability of Bond, but the raw kind of ruthless physicality. The kind of the I wouldn't say the coldness. Well, sometimes in a way, but in this, I find overall it's just kind of a cold film, and that's not what I want to say about Bond film. There are a few Bond films I'm not a fan of, and I think this is one of them. But again, it's perfectly fine. Whatever one thinks of a film, and I may disagree or agree, and it doesn't matter. I personally just can't really get behind the overall experience and say at the end that I like this film and that I look forward to watching it again. It just doesn't really overall do it for me. There are moments in this film that I really like, but again, not quite the kind of the thumbs up from me. But yes, the beginning of the film, again, interesting. We have this kind of this opening shot, seeing of course the ocean, and there's different cuts between that and the car. The car chase that is about to happen. Seeing of course Bond a little bit there, and kind of building the sense of mystery. And I really like the kind of sound design here. Actually, it's quite impressive, quite unique. And yes, cutting back is quite effective. But of course, there's no gun barrel here, and again, I'm not going to be someone that says a Bond film is not a Bond film without gun barrel or this or that, because it doesn't always need to have this and that. It's all about how they kind of make that happen. But because Casino Royale did not open immediately with a gun barrel, it kind of had the pre-title sequence, the masterful sequence there, and then of course we had the gun barrel kind of interaction into the credits, the kind of title sequence, and it made sense. It was a kind of earning the double A status, and then he was actually Bond, and then by the end of the film, obviously truly James Bond. But even that moment there, it took just a pre-title sequence. Then we had the gun barrel, and it's a different one, but it was there. And it was just kind of it was unique, and it was so different, and potentially my favourite actually. This one only has a gun barrel at the end of the film, and I'm not a fan of that, and I'm not a fan of the actual gun barrel. It's too quick. It feels rushed, in my opinion, and that can be said for a lot of this film. Unfortunately, it does feel rushed, and there are films, of course, out there that have been made that are kind of have been kind of a tight schedule, in the sense of production, and there are many famous classic films. Some of the best films ever made have kind of had the sense of things were a bit tight, but they've kind of translated that in a positive way. A sense of urgency, perhaps. This one just feels rushed, and it feels like things weren't fully thought through, and just fully realised in that sense. For example, yes, the gun barrel, again, it's just one such example. Very small, but for me, important thing about Bond. It really is. It's what makes it. It's one of them things, the trademarks, and you can do it differently. But this one it just doesn't work for me, and the whole kind of the gun barrel, being the letter Q of the title, and then Bond walking off, rushed again, and then the kind of effect there, it just doesn't really do it for me, and I guess it's trying to bookend this whole kind of Vesper, kind of story, but yeah, again, doesn't really work for me. But the whole pre-title sequence, in Casino Royale just works so well. The opening sequence to this, it's just once you have them shots that are quite impressive. As I've said, you have this car chase, and from then it goes downhill. It's just very. The editing here, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of the editing in this film at all, and it's just. Going through this action sequence, it really doesn't work for me. It's confusing. You don't really get, at least I don't, enough time to actually digest and take in and absorb particular shots. It's just so quick. And it's not, it's the whole sequence here really, and it just doesn't really work for me. There are some moments, I feel you can see, this is really impressive. Stunt work, practicality, really impressive. I guess a lot of work went into this, but the editing just really. If we just had a little bit more time to absorb the shots and the different moments, it could have been more immersive for me. But because of how much cuts there are, and this attention, and this focus on realism, I guess, and this grittiness, it's too far. And I think just seeing you can't really see this at times. You can't really take it in and get absorbed, and it kind of has a detached feeling actually, and it just doesn't work for me. Too confusing, messy, and just not. There are some shots as well where the car goes off, off the cliff edge there, and it kind of goes down, and the whole kind of shot there, going around above the car. It's not a good shot for me really, and I think that's a particular example. Just something that maybe is experimental, but doesn't quite work. On this occasion, this is a Bond film, and these kind of opening sequences, these first moments in the film, just once again, I was reminded of kind of how this is very strange. The style of this film, you could say, a kind of art house style injected into this franchise, and you can make you can kind of tweak a franchise and make your own kind of stamp on a franchise. It doesn't have to be exactly the same kind of style every time. The Bond films are known for kind of, in my opinion, actually being very unique, fitting mostly within a franchise, kind of trademarks and different things that should perhaps be in a Bond film, but being very very different. Every kind of actor as well has had a different kind of take on Bond, and it's great to see the different different takes. But this film to kind of bring in this kind of art house way and approach doesn't work for me. When Mr. White is getting interrogated into the in that room there, and we have M as well, which is funny to see. Judi Dench kind of out on the field. That moment there, involving Daniel Craig as well. It's kind of the cutting there is very strange, juxtaposing that scene there, this horse. Kind of racing going on, and the different members of the crowd, and it's just very random. It doesn't work. It feels very off and kind of forced actually, and just heavy-handed. I feel it doesn't work. It takes away from the actual really important and potentially exciting moments there. And I think again, I was getting some things from it, but instantly taken out by just cutting back to this random and generic sequence, in my opinion, and just again this kind of this art house way, in particular, a particular style to the film that kind of clashes with what the film is trying to be as well, and that is a Bond film, and for me overall this is least like a Bond film of any of the films in the franchise. Actually, it's the least Bondian film in the franchise. It feels more like a perhaps one of the Bourne films actually, not identity, but maybe supremacy kind of style there, and again it's a shame this film turned out like this, because it could have been great, it could have been really good, of course, following on from Casino Royale. Again, I must say I don't need a kind of follow-up to the Vesper story. For me, in Casino Royale, it ended perfectly, and there was enough kind of closure, but also the kind of sense of this kind of complex feelings in that, and this kind of sense of wonder to it. In this film, we simply as well take that in a nutshell, in a very basic way, and it doesn't really explore that any further, and that's another thing. It kind of still feels like an unnecessary film. Of course, it is taken from 1959 Fleming Few Eyes Only, one of the short stories in that, and kind of collection there, and but the name of it, but the actual story is not actually taking anything from that. So very interesting. Again, it's kind of a playing off of Casino Royale, but overall it doesn't really add anything or take the film or Casino Royale, the events of that, in an interesting way, and it just kind of it makes me think. I was fine without that, and I think because Casino Royale is so great, it's just one of my favourite films. But yeah, we have in the film we have Vesper, kind of used at the beginning, and as a kind of a kickstart to the momentum, and at the same time we have Mitchell, this bodyguard of M, and he kind of very quickly as well, kind of potentially in a confusing way, kind of betrays her, and therefore MI6. So of course you have this kind of playing on the Vesper story from Casino Royale, but we do have new characters, no denying that, and we do have this Bond following leads, various leads of course throughout the film, eventually coming across this character of Dominic Green and this kind of developer, green technology, this environmentalist, and of course Dominic Green, again, not a very popular villain and not my favourite, of course, but yes, played by Mathieu Amalric, and I think he's a very good actor, this guy, but unfortunately this film does not have a good villain, in my opinion. Again, the writing, I don't find this villain interesting at all, and again, not the most interesting of motivations, but just very bland. And is this guy a threat? Is he sneaky? Subtle? Neither really. It's actually very on the nose. All this this kind of sly guy kind of thing, because it's just so overdone. And again, I don't think it works really at all. And I think just the actual. Yes, he's not menacing, he's not frightening in any way to me, and again, just it feels like a kind of a sideline as well to the actual following on this whole story of Jesper and that kind of motivation going forward in the film. But, I think Dominic Green is definitely a contender for my least favourite villain of the entire franchise. Not for a single moment do I kind of get any kind of sense of threat from this guy or enjoyment. There's no charm to his character even, and very, very unfortunate. Potential there with the casting didn't really work at all for me. But yes, we also have this Bond girl of Camille, and she's played by Olga Kurylenko. She is a very good actress, and again, I guess the Bond girl has grown on me. This character of Camille, a little bit, but again, very disappointing as well. Not one of my favourite Bond girls, and I think it's interesting that I do praise those for trying to go for this kind of traumatised character who could potentially have this connection with Bond, and I see flashes of that in the film. I see what they're doing with it a little bit, but again, in the end, it's just very forgettable and could have been explored, in a better way and just brought together a bit differently. And again, could have been more enjoyable. I don't really find much enjoyable relationships, interactions in the film with Bond, and I think, despite Daniel Craig, being again giving a great Bond performance, I think the interactions, the moments. It doesn't really offer too much for him to kind of deliver in that sense, like he did in Casino Royale. And I think just the main kind of interactions in this film really is from existing characters. Mathis, played by Giancarlo Giannini. He was a great character in Casino Royale. A bit different in this time, in terms of what they're kind of doing with the character. But really essential to at least making some scenes enjoyable. The first half especially, and I think Mathis is a great character, and once again, Giannini, really giving this kind of this presence to the film. Very enjoyable to see him when he's in the film. Not in the film too much, but I cherish these moments. I guess, and one thing they did kind of again disappoint me with in terms of existing characters is Felix Leiter. Now, Jeffrey Wright was so great in Casino Royale, and I think it's a shame that he wasn't really given too much to do in this film. Scenes where he's simply sitting around, and I just really want to get more dialogue from that character, with Bond, for example, and it doesn't really happen too much. There are some exchanges later on in the film, but it's just not very enjoyable, and it's definitely very different to Casino Royale. But of course, it's great to see Jeffrey Wright once again in the film. But yeah, disappointing in the actual material that is given to him, and I guess it could have been so much more, and because he's a great character. Felix, of course, and for me, Jeffrey Wright in Casino Royale is a contender for the absolute best Felix that we've seen. So I guess, and Gemma Arterton is in the film as Strawberry Fields. Of course, she's referred to as Fields in the film, and she kind of says just Fields, but in the credits, we do have this Strawberry Fields, credit to her, and great, of course, Beatles reference. Yes. Interesting, I guess, because Bond particularly in Goldfinger, in terms of the films, he is he kind of makes a remark that he's not a fan of the Beatles. So maybe that's kind of interesting. But it's not really taken anywhere other than that. I guess, and it's a shame. Fields is not a great character either. There is the kind of initial spark of kind of this class, and kind of. Perhaps some enjoyability to be had for the interactions, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And again, it's cut short. Very disappointing character, and I think it's interesting to see where they take the character of Camille. But as we go through the film, it's very strange. The kind of flow of it. I think the editing is just. We have moments of really good action actually, but the editing isn't as frantic, and I can actually see what's going on, and. Or perhaps the editing is kind of similar, but not in the way of I'm not kind of invested in for example the action scene in the hotel, the kind of the fight sequence there is it's quite impressive and kind of thrilling, I guess. The kind of brutality of Bond and dispatching of that character there, very very brutal and quite interesting actually. But a lot of the time the action is just too messy and just not. It's too choppy. It's too kind of all over the place for me, and just very very underwhelming, and not the standards that we see in most Bond films. Actually, Bond is always a franchise really that has great action sequences, and even just one action sequence in a film, in a Bond film, there's usually a great action sequence, and the production as well. Is always to a standard. In this film, it's very underwhelming overall in the action, I think, and mainly because of the editing. But at times, it just really kind of doesn't stand out in itself as well. The actual compared to many of the Bond films, it doesn't have that charm as well of action sequences at times in Bond films, and it can be said for a lot of the film, it lacks the charm, it lacks the kind of sophistication, but also just the actual the enjoyability, the humanity as well. The Casino Royale was going for in a particular way. It's not. I don't really think it's followed through in this film. There are intentions of that, I guess. At times, I can see where they're going, and the initial sparks of different moments, threads, characters, interactions. But it just follows to a point where it goes in a direction where it kind of cuts off or leaves me underwhelmed. I guess. And this film, I think I kind of like the first act of the film, and maybe the second act as well. It's kind of interesting as well, and it has some enjoyable moments. It's kind of this average piece, bordering mediocre. Some unimpressive moments, I think, and some moments that I really don't like, and some aspects of it. But I think the final act really lets the film down as well, consistently, and the flow of it is all off. And but in the final act, we have this kind of sluggish feeling, and just the actual final set piece there. Of course, in deserts, and yes, relating to the actual plot of the film. This character of Dominic Green. But I just guess I think the actual design of that kind of hideout there, that kind of the final act set piece here is very underwhelming for me, and it's quite an unimpressive sequence. I feel just not investing really in that sense either. They are doing some interesting things emotionally with the character of Camille, and there are some nice touches there that I picked up on again this time round, and actually kind of grew to appreciate. But overall, it just really is underwhelming, and that kind of moment when Bond kind of instructs Green to kind of go off there, and he leaves him like that. For some reason, it feels off. It feels like it's from a different film, and there's a coldness to it without any kind of Bond feeling. It's moments like this. I think the film is a bit too cold actually for me, and it doesn't really feel like a Bond film too much. And there are some interesting moments though. Technically, this film, there are some interesting things. I think the opera sequence, again, it starts out, earlier on in the film, it starts out interesting. I love operatic sequences, of course, in cinema. Just always interested in seeing perhaps an opera scene as well. And it starts out kind of interesting, and we have quite a lot going on there, but it kind of it leads to nowhere, and eventually it becomes very confusing and again messy. Not really getting the emotions, not getting the actual the outcome that is kind of required of a scene like this, and just not really getting too much enjoyment from this film in different scenes like this, and it's a shame. Scenes that offer or potential moments that offer potential but just kind of go nowhere, or just don't come together too well, and I think the ending as well is nice to see, I guess, but leaving on that, the kind of lingering on that shot there, reminding of this is kind of following on from Casino Royale, and I'm not taking that into account, the final rating, but it's a shame to see, once again, this moment with the necklace there, and reminding of the emotions of that film, and just really thinking again, it's not really doing too much of this. It's kind of bookending with this, the beginning and the ending, but really in between, it's just kind of this. Feels like this sidetrack, this side mission for Bond, and just the actual Vesper kind of stuff here is not too much of the film. It's kind of, I guess, kind of used in a way that you could, it's kind of, it's not really focused on too much. And again, I did not need this. I didn't really want to see this actually. I think Casino Royale is great to kind of have its own contained kind of feeling, while also being, expanding on and kind of just feeling like an epic part of the franchise, but kind of being its own kind of thing there. And this film, let's just say I'm glad that Skyfall kind of went in a different way and was its own thing. Again, feeling like a kind of a tribute and a kind of a part of the franchise as a greater whole, but not in this way of kind of really playing on and just kind of hinging on this the film of Casino Royale, and not really doing anything in its own right, because this film is very short for a Bond film, and it feels drawn out because I don't think there's enough material here that is compelling, that is specific, and also in the way of expanding meaningfully on Casino Royale. And that is the film in a nutshell. There are some good performances. Judi Dench is very good. I think Olga Kurylenko offers some good moments in the performance. Daniel Craig is great, but I think there are some different moments in the film. For example, the "get in" kind of recurring line. It doesn't really work for me. It's just kind of annoying, and this whole kind of repeating the line in a different way. Get in. I said get in. It's just really stupid, in my opinion. But yeah, this film technically has its impressive moments. It has some emotion in there, and I'm definitely invested in some sequences. Even action. The kind of sequence, of course, the one that is used on the trailer there, and Bond, kind of shooting up with the rope. That's a really good scene in some ways. Actually, the editing isn't too frantic there, and actually has some interesting moments visually there as well. The kind of geography of it, but the geography of this film, it's just overall very, very kind of confused, and I think this kind of fractured feeling that could have been done in a good way, potentially, but on this occasion, it doesn't really come together for me, and it doesn't really feel like a film that I actually enjoyed overall. I think as well the kind of the title cards, that are used in the different locations, it doesn't work for me. It's very much an art house kind of, or a different film, that is kind of coming into this franchise and kind of doing things that I don't really need, and certainly doesn't work for me. The title cards, even they, are very, very unclear to actually look at. Very hard on the eye, actually, not very visually appealing, and just kind of adding this feeling that is not Bond at all. And again, I'm not someone who wants this and that and this and that. And if it doesn't happen, it's a write-off. No. I'm fine with different Bond films, but this one is just, it's doing things that really don't work for me, and it could be an experiment. Every film is, in some way, but for me, while I appreciate those involved in trying to do this and that, I think it doesn't really work for me, and it's not what I really look for in at times in an action film at all, but certainly not a Bond film. And I think even though this has got Daniel Craig in it, and it's kind of following on from the Casino Royale storyline, this is not a film that I like. And I think David Arnold, it's his final score as well, and I think great composer, genius, and really in some of these kind of Bond scores, Casino Royale as well. Tomorrow Never Dies, really drawing on the classic John Barry-esque kind of feeling, and drawing on his scores at times, and really being the composer to actually succeed Barry in that way, while also being his own kind of bringing his own thing to the franchise. This film here is not one of his best, and I think I appreciate what he's doing, and actually he's using some melodic motifs from Casino Royale, of course the Vesper kind of theme as well. But overall, it kind of feels, let's just say, I appreciate the score, I appreciate what he's doing with it, and doing something a little bit different, while also familiar, but on this occasion it doesn't really speak to me as a score that I would listen to at time. I don't listen to this score really at all, and it's not a film where it has this kind of bombastic score. That's fine, but it doesn't really have a score that I care for, and too much. And in connection to the characters and all these different things that Arnold was so great at with Casino Royale and all the ones, these ones, I think this one kind of it's a shame because the script does not allow for particular moments character working like some of these other films did, and in that sense the way that David Arnold worked was kind of drawing on that, and really relating to the characters, the moments, the story, and in that sense, because of the film that's offered here, this story, these characters, the actual script, I don't think the potential is fully realised. David Arnold could have produced another genius score, but I guess he's doing the best that he could have done with what was given to him, and on this occasion, really kind of not really kind of speaking to me as much. Let's just say that, and but regardless, it's a solid score, and one that has its moments, and I like the kind of course the using the Vesper theme. That's great, of course, but yes. Overall, it's again, the kind of the titles, I'm not a fan of at all, and the theme song, of course, performed by Jack White and Alicia Keys, of course, really, definitely not a big fan at all of this theme at all. Lyrically, musically, doesn't work, and the titles, some interesting moments, but overall, not a fan of it, and just very random, and just kind of not really fitting with Bond at all. But yes, in the end, there is an interesting scene, a couple of scenes, with Vesper's past, flame, and the whole kind of the way it comes full circle there, and the closure there is kind of interesting. And of course, we have that scene after as well with Judi Dench and Bond, and I like the subtle walking off of Bond, and the lingering on the necklace, lingering on that, but kind of leading to that kind of very underwhelming and strange gun barrel. Again, it kind of reminds me of how much this film really is underwhelming for me, and again, it's not a film that I dislike in the way of I hate this film. No. It's grown on me, this film, and I think I'm at the point where I don't like the film. Yes, if I was asked, I do dislike it. In that sense, but I don't hate the film, and I think it has some really interesting moments, some sparks of greatness maybe in there, and some of the action even, but the performances, the actual visuals at times, and some of the moments, the actual emotions and the interactions, I'd give a thumbs up to, and some brutal moments that I get behind. Other times the action is just really ineffective for me, and the editing is one of the main issues with this. The script and the editing, is one of the two kind of main flaws I have, and in that sense, if the script had really been solid, and really been offering this all these potential moments for these characters, the cast here so great once again, and the editing in the way the film flows and the way the film is put together, and if we had different moments that went this way and that way, and kind of came together in that way, it could have been a film that was very impressive. Maybe not a great film, but for me it's mediocre actually. In the end, and as an overall experience, it's under par. It's not an awful film. It's not a bad film, I don't think, anymore. I used to feel that way, and rightfully so. I can have my own opinion on a film I went to see, and I was very disappointed as a kid. And you know, I've kind of, it's nice to know that I've kind of I've come around a little bit more. You know, at the point now where this is the most I've ever liked it, and again, not quite a like from me, but you know, again, you know, it's not a bad film. I don't think. It's just one that doesn't really go to the level of Bond, and it doesn't really deliver the goods, and it feels the least kind of it's the least Bondian film in my opinion of the series. And again, you know, it's not my absolute least favourite, but it's not far off as an overall experience. Definitely my least favourite Daniel Craig Bond film as well. You know, Spectre is not a film that, you know, kind of I love, yeah, certainly not currently, but you know, I would take it over this actually. And yeah, you know, Skyfall we'll get to. You know, I love that film. I have many positive things to say about that personally. But you know, this one, Quantum of Solace, is just, it's under par, and doesn't quite live up to the potential here. You know, great cast, you know, great composer, of course, once again. You know, all these different kind of pieces here, they don't quite move together, you know, in the way that I think they could have done. And you know, I think to kind of sum it up, it feels rushed, it feels drawn out, and in the end, it doesn't quite feel, you know, it lacks the charm, it lacks the kind of particular level of humanity and the magic that usually I find in most Bond films. But yeah, not a bad film, but certainly not one of my favourites, and certainly overall still to me an underwhelming experience. So my final rating for this film, for Quantum of Solace, the 22nd Bond film in the franchise, is a 52%. Not a positive one from me, but again, I don't hate this film. I don't think it's bad anymore. You know, I used to, and it's nice. I guess it's positive that I've grown to like this film a bit more, and there's definitely some things that I'm noticing more and more that I kind of respond to. You know, I think Daniel Craig is great. Judi Dench is always enjoyable. I mean, when is she ever not enjoyable in a film? And yes, you know, some interesting moments in the film emotionally, and even action-wise. But again, overall as a film, if someone asked me, do I like this film? I'd say no. I'd say, you know, I want to like this film, you know, but I don't really get behind it. And you know, I think, you know, for a Bond film to be one that I don't enjoy as an overall piece, that's very rare. You know, just even ones that, you know, outside my top 10, you know, this is a franchise that I love so much, it's my favourite franchise. It doesn't need to be a top 10 or so for me to love a Bond film, or to really like a Bond film, and you know, to really hold in high regard, you know, just feelings towards these films. You know, it's rare for a film, you know, Bond film, to be one that I just don't enjoy overall. And yeah, that's fine though. There are only a few, of course, and this is definitely the least Bond like Bond film in the franchise for me, and it may not be my least favourite Bond film, but it's kind of down there. And but I guess, yeah, it's fine. You know, once again, Daniel Craig is great. Some interesting moments in the score by David Arnold, and you know, he's a legend to me, and so much respect for this guy. And as well, you know, I appreciate what is going on here. You know, with the kind of, you know, I guess, yes, trying to be a bit different, but also kind of following on paper that kind of seems interesting, but in execution, it doesn't work for me. The editing is one of the main issues. The script, the editing, and overall just, it feels very inconsistent, you know, in the direction of the film, and you know, this kind of trying to do this and not working, trying to do many things, and actually, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, this being a kind of follow-up to Casino Royale, some would say that's very safe. I would say no, actually, that's very risky. That really is a film that many people love, and for me, it's a remarkable film. You know, you really need to kind of really think things through, I feel, and really kind of live up to that film, and for it to be just a few things, you know, basic moments, or ideas to take from that film, and to kind of, you know, hinge on that, you know, the kind of that sparks the motivations for the film, with our character of Bond. And you really need to have as well, then, if you're going to kind of do just a few things in the general sense with this, you know, you need to have some I guess specific material for said film that really is compelling. And for me, it's not compelling, and even the action at times it's just not compelling and enjoyable and clear enough and just realised really. And yeah, I guess it's kind of a cold film as well. Kind of plays into the character of Bond as well. But Daniel Craig delivers in the ruthlessness, the acting capability, of course, and the kind of at times the comedy, but not too much. It's a shame. The script really is one of the things with that. I would have liked more charm to the film, and overall, it lacks the magic, it lacks the charm, and it lacks a lot of things. But I will leave it on a positive note. This is the most I've liked the film. It's kind of, it's a film that I've come around to a bit more. On each kind of experience, at least watching at home, and because it's a film that I have some mixed emotions on, and very underwhelming for me personally. Especially the Bond film, but as an action film as well. Just very very underwhelming personally. But again, not a film that I hate, and there are some things that I watch every now and then and kind of just think about, and it's part of the family. It's one of these films in my favourite franchise, but it's definitely the least Bondian film for me personally. And again, I say personally, let's wrap up. What do you think? What do you think of this film? This is just my opinion, and that's kind of. In the grand scheme of things, there are so many opinions, on this film and every Bond film and every film out there. So yes, I look forward to discussing with you in the comments. What do you think of this film? It'd be great to know, and respectful comments. If you like the film, if you dislike it, it's all great to know. Very very interesting to see, the response to this, and this being the second Daniel Craig, we have two more that are currently already out, to kind of talk about, and eventually we'll get No Time to Die. I look forward to that. But yeah, next up is Skyfall. I'll say it now. I absolutely love Skyfall, and luckily, after the kind of download this is, for me personally, it's a special film for me. Always a special experience, and I remember seeing that at the cinema and really being blown away and having a magical time with that. So yes, we go from Casino Royale, potentially the highest point in the franchise, to one of the lowest, but then we go back up again, just in my personal opinion. So it's positive, and I do praise this film in some areas, just not a film that I love. But yes, it's just one of those Daniel Craig films, and as a whole, I love Daniel Craig as Bond, of course, and his kind of his phase, his era, I love, and yes, it'd be great to talk about Skyfall and Spectre as well. Always interesting. So yes, tell me your thoughts, and it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on this, the Daniel Craig's, and as always, any Bond review, you can comment on the entire franchise. Of course, it will always be great to know your thoughts, and yes, of course, you can check out my other reviews, in my kind of Bond playlist, and if you haven't already done so, so yes, I look forward to your thoughts, and yes, discussing these films, going forward. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.